In this video, let's explore why Syndrome stands out as a significantly more effective villain than Evelyn Deavor within the Incredibles franchise. While both characters serve as the primary antagonists in their respective films, a direct comparison reveals that Syndrome operates on an entirely different level. The gap between them isn't just about who is more dangerous, but rather about the depth of their writing, how their stories are executed, and the lasting impact they leave on the audience. Syndrome's effectiveness begins with his motivation, which is rooted in a deeply personal history that the audience sees unfold. As a young boy named Buddy, he didn't just admire Mr. Incredible, he built his entire identity around the hope of being his sidekick.
No, you don't have to worry about training me. I know all your moves, your crime-fighting style, favorite catchphrases, everything. I am your #1 fan. Hey, wait!
When he was harshly rejected, it wasn't just a moment of embarrassment, it was a fundamental betrayal that shattered his worldview. This rejection transformed his childhood wonder into a lifelong obsession with revenge. His ultimate goal, to sell his technology so that everyone can be super, is more than just a plan for world domination.
And when everyone's super, no one will be.
It is a calculated attempt to devalue the very concept of natural talent. He wants to erase the thing that made Mr. Incredible special because he was told he could never be part of that world. This makes his philosophy a twisted extension of his own insecurity and entitlement. You can see exactly how his pain turned into malice, which makes him a compelling figure even when his actions are irredeemable. In contrast, Evelyn Deavor's motivations feel much thinner. Her resentment towards superheroes stems from a tragic event where her parents died because they relied on heroes for protection instead of taking action themselves. While that is a logical starting point for a character, the story doesn't do much to build on it. Her anger feels static and surface level because it never truly evolves or connects to the protagonists in a meaningful way.
Because you have some strange abilities and a shiny costume, the rest of us are supposed to put our lives into your gloved hands. That's what my father believed.
Throughout the film, her reasons for being a villain are largely explained through dialogue rather than shown through emotional development. Because the audience doesn't get to witness the weight of her trauma or the slow buildup of her resentment, it is difficult to feel any real connection to her cause. Where Syndrome's origin is a lived experience that the audience shares with him, Evelyn's history is more like a plot point used to move the script along, leaving her without the same emotional resonance. The difference in presence and personality between these two characters is where the gap in quality becomes most apparent. Syndrome is an unforgettable antagonist because he commands the screen with a high-energy theatrical personality. From his visual design to his voice acting, everything about him is bold and intentional. He is arrogant and often funny, yet his humor never makes him feel like less of a threat.
You married Elastigirl? Oh, and got busy! It's a whole family of supers! Looks like I've hit the jackpot!
He genuinely enjoys being a villain, and that enthusiasm makes his scenes memorable. You walk away from the movie remembering his specific gadgets, his distinct lines, and the meticulous nature of his plan. He has a charisma that makes him a perfect foil for the Parr family, as he embodies a perverted version of the heroism he once admired. Evelyn, by comparison, is very flat. She is written as a calm, quiet, and calculating character, which is a trope that can be effective if handled correctly. However, the film doesn't provide her with enough presence to make that personality type interesting. She spends the majority of the story in the background, serving as a supporting character until the final act. When she finally reveals her true intentions, it lacks the weight of a powerful cinematic moment because it is so predictable.
What if the pizza guy is really a pizza guy, but it was controlled by the screens built into his glass?
You are good.
The twist feels like a formulaic requirement rather than a shocking revelation. This highlights why Syndrome is the more successful character. He isn't a twist villain at all. The audience knows who he is and what he wants early on, which allows the story to focus on the mounting danger he poses rather than trying to trick the viewer. Because the narrative doesn't have to hide his identity, it can spend more time showing the escalation of his plan. We see him systematically eliminate other heroes and build his power, creating a sense of dread that feels earned. While Evelyn's impact is dampened by a weak mystery, Syndrome's threat keeps growing, making the stakes much higher and the conflict far more engaging. The differences between their respective plans further illustrate why Syndrome is the superior antagonist. Syndrome doesn't just chase power, he engineers a complex multi-stage system designed to manufacture heroism itself. He builds the Omnidroid, refines its capabilities through actual combat, and cold-bloodedly sacrifices real superheroes to ensure his weapon is perfected. His strategy is to stage a fake disaster where he can emerge as the public savior, gaining fame before eventually selling his technology to the world. This plan is layered, strategic, and disturbingly logical. It shows a villain who is not only a genius inventor but also a master of public manipulation. In contrast, Evelyn's plan is way smaller and less convincing. Her strategy revolves almost entirely around using screens to hypnotize the public and turn them against superheroes. Compared to the systemic and physical threat Syndrome poses, this approach is simplistic and far less dangerous. It relies heavily on coincidence and the convenience of the plot rather than the villain's own ingenuity. Because her plan is centered on mind control rather than a battle of wills or ideals, it lacks the weight and tension that made Syndrome's scheme so memorable. The emotional impact of these two characters also places them in different leagues. Syndrome is deeply woven into the central themes of the first film, representing the dangers of ego and the complicated nature of what it means to be special. He acts as a dark reflection of Mr. Incredible, making every interaction between them personal and heavy with history.
I was wrong to treat you that way. I'm sorry.
See? Now you respect me, because I'm a threat. That's the way it works.
This connection ensures that the conflict is about more than just stopping a bad guy, it is about the hero facing the consequences of his own past. Evelyn lacks this kind of relationship with Elastigirl or the rest of the family. She serves as an external obstacle rather than a mirror to the heroes, which leaves her feeling disconnected from the emotional heart of the story. Ultimately, the legacy of these characters speaks for itself. Years later, Syndrome is still widely discussed as one of the most effective villains in animation because of his depth and execution.
You know, I was right to idolize you. I always knew you were tough. But tricking the probe by hiding under the bones of another super? Oh, man! I'm still geeking out about it.
Evelyn is rarely a part of that conversation. She isn't necessarily a terrible character, and her initial concept had potential, but she ultimately fails to stand out. While Syndrome left a permanent mark on the franchise, Evelyn remains a forgettable figure because her story lacked the personal stakes and strategic brilliance that made her predecessor so iconic.
The fact that you saved me doesn't make you right.
But it does make you alive.
And I'm grateful for that.
I'm sorry, but she'll go to prison.